So let's put this together in a real world example to show you what the real effect is of expenses. Well, you take the typical brokerage account and you have mutual funds in there with an average expense ratio of 1.25%. But that's not all you have as far as expenses. There's actually additional expenses to most mutual funds, which is found on the Statement of Additional Information. I call it the SAI. The Statement of Additional Information is costs that they do not have to report on the prospectus. They're required to give you the prospectus, but they're not required to give you the SAI. These are fees that the broker pays or the mutual fund manager pays to the broker to transact. So every time they buy and sell a stock, they pay a brokerage fee just like you and I do. They don't have to report what those fees are. And what happens is these mutual fund managers take all kinds of research from various publications or research groups, and they just say, call my broker and tell my broker to put it on my account. So rather than putting that on the prospectus, rather than having that as a regular expense, it just goes into the brokerage cost. So their broker just charges them more when they buy or sell a stock. Well, that actually adds 1% to the typical mutual fund expense fee. Now let's say you're also hiring an advisor or broker. Now he may charge an upfront commission of 5.25%, but a lot of people now are going to what they call wrap fees, where most of these advisors are charging 1 to 2%. For this example, let's just say it's 1%. So your typical account, your typical investor is paying 3.25% for their expenses. That's awfully high. Now back in the 80s and 90s when returns were 10, 11, 12%, that wasn't all that bad. But now that we're looking at a little bit more difficult investing environment, that 3.25% is awfully high. That really takes a lot of your gains away. Now for my clients, I use these exchange traded funds. And again, the expense ratio on most of those is about 0.2%. Now their statement of additional information, their brokerage costs are about 0.04% per year. And then I only charge 0.5% for people where I'm just managing assets. So I can provide full professional investment management for 0.75%, which is roughly half of what you'd pay just for the mutual fund. So you can see, hopefully, that how important it is to keep your expenses low. And then focusing on your taxes is essential as well, because if 1/4 of your return goes to taxes, well, you need to really keep that down. So if you want a further explanation of how expenses really affect you, please visit my website for my presentation on mutual funds there, or we can discuss it at a complimentary, no obligation initial meeting that I offer everyone so they can come in and really understand how I work.